All right, let the rough begin. So on the last one, I posted the finished product from the basement up so the typical homeowner can understand the plumbing system. In the basement, up. Shit flows downhill, paydays on Friday. That's a Warner ladder bucket that I got there. Came to my brain a couple of days ago and just makes things a lot easier so I don't have to be up and down. I keep the glue and the primer in there with a couple other things, but they seem to be glued down to the bottom now. And for the guy who told me not to start in the basement, listen, that video just started in the basement. This is where I start plumbing, is the first floor, the meat and potatoes. Where the fixtures are above me is where I start. Because if you start in the basement, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be cutting out the stuff in the basement because you didn't look ahead. I wouldn't start in the attic because it's just venting and a squirrel can get that done. We start where the meat and potatoes is, always in the middle. We're running 3-inch. It's a 3-inch TY and a 45 outside of the wall because we're not going through the trusses or the beams. We're going to keep it tight so they can build the soffit. Somebody called it a bulkhead. Maybe that's what you say in Australia, but guess what? Around here, we call it a soffit. That first Y is picking up the second floor toilet and the tub in the same bay. Everything's individually vented in this state to abide by the code. Now we're going to be running down and picking up the second floor laundry and a lav for the second floor bathroom. Now, with the fixture units on 2-inch, I should be able to pick up the laundry and the lav, but I was once told not to pick up any other fixtures on a 2-inch line other than the laundry and run it back to 3-inch separately. So that's what we're doing here. We're running 3-inch all the way down, 3x2Y, picking up the laundry. Off the ass end, we're going 3x1.5 coupling up into the trusses and hitting up that lav. Once again, individually vented. I used to use a bushing in the back of the Y, but a gentleman I talked to says he uses couplings because he likes the way they look, and I couldn't agree with him. I got OCD like most plumbers, so I switched over to coupling as well. I'm probably the only plumber that wears a set of bags, and those bags are from 2002. When I used to hang ductwork, I worked with a gentleman. He wore the same leather pouches with suspenders and never had it buckled in the front, so it didn't feel like you actually had a tool belt on. So these pouches are 22 years old. I couldn't tell you the brand name, but I know they're worn in well, just like your sister. These Empire levels, I can never figure out which way is the right way, so I usually spin them about 3 times every time I use them, just to make sure I'm going the right way with pitch. I also see a few people telling me to put spray foam underneath the tubs, and I'll be straight with you, I just can't bring myself to do it. I just can't do it. I gotta use mortar. If they put it into directions to use spray foam, that's when I'll switch over, but until then, I'm using mortar. Fucking mustache was the best thing I could have ever done. I've never felt manlier in my life. We're using UV primer. That's why you people aren't seeing the purple rings around it. But when you use a UV light, you have to provide it as not the inspector, but yourself. And that's a D-Burr 4 reed tool. And I won't do PVC without it anymore. People were telling me to buy it, and I never did it. Now that I have it, I can guarantee you, if you use that D-Burr tool and you put primer and glue on the face of the pipe and around the edge, no leaks. Guaranteed. I know I could be pretty neat with purple primer, but I just don't want to lose the time of not splattering it all over the place. But the first thing I do when I get out of the van and get inside of anywhere I rough, I throw the bags on because it's like a superhero putting on his cape. Like I just can't get started or into it until I got the bags on. That's a slide bar bracket. It's a labor saver. It may cost $3.75 per hanger, but it also saves you time, which is labor is more money than material. So that's where I'm saving it. And that's 1.5 foam core that I'm bending, 20-footer. Somebody said, show yourself sliding it up the hole. You can see that on my OnlyFans page. And now I know I can cut 39 inches off of this pipe before I slide it up for the other 10 kitchen sinks. So there you go, another wider slider. I drilled through the 4 studs that are for the windows because every kitchen sink is center of the window on an outside wall. So you don't have a choice. You're either going outside the wall or you're going through the studs. I usually ask the contractor before I go and drill it, and then once they approve it, I drill it. But the bottom of it did have to jump out because the foundation is below that 6-inch sill. Cut me some slack. It's 4 minutes and 37 seconds in. I don't even talk this much during the day. Never mind. It's a difficult task. But thanks for watching and enjoy your evening.